Hello YouTube and welcome to my video on the Orico 2-bay USB 3 hard disk drive enclosure. I bought this thing for about $27 on Newegg about a week ago. It's usually $35 or $40, but I picked it up for, again, $27 because it was on sale. Pretty sweet deal. I think the single bay version, which I have at work, is about $20, so this one's about $7 more for 2 bays. So I'm basically just going to dedicate this video towards giving some good information on this thing for people who are considering buying it. So out of the box, it's pretty cool looking. Obviously, it's got that slant to it, kind of interesting. I noticed that the power supply has this cable that goes to a power brick, so it's actually got like a small brick to it. Not big, of course, that plugs into the wall. Of course, you got your USB 3.0 cable, much faster than USB 2.0, which caps out at 40 megs a second. USB 3.0 can do hundreds and hundreds of megabytes per second. So, getting down to it, now one of the biggest features in this bay is the drive cloning feature. Now, the normal non-cloning feature is pretty self-explanatory. You plug your disks in, you hit the power button, and voila, you can access it through Windows or whatever else. So I'm not going to go too far into that because there's really not much to go on. But as far as the cloning feature goes, the big selling point is that it's faster than cloning through Windows. You know, the data when you're cloning it goes from source to destination straight through the controller inside this drive bay, which is a lot faster than taking data off the disk through the USB to the computer and back onto the other drive, which is just kind of silly. So I ran some tests. I took a 64 gig SSD and I plugged it into the source. I mean, the fact that it's an SSD doesn't really matter. And then I took a 1 terabyte hard disk drive and I plugged it into the destination. And I saw how long it took to clone the 64 gig SSD over to the 1 terabyte. Now, of course, it doesn't matter that's 1 terabyte, as long as it's 64 gigs, it's all that really matters. And that took 10 minutes. So then I used a tool on Windows called Hard Disk Drive Raw Copy Tool. And I copied over the 64 gig over to the 1 terabyte. Once again, and it went not even half as fast. It took 22 minutes. So it's definitely true that this thing does a really good job of copying data very fast. The manual says 60 to 80 megabits a second, but that can't be right. That'd be horribly slow. I think they mean 60 to 80 megabytes a second. It probably even goes faster than that. So it definitely did go pretty fast. Copying from source to destination straight through here went a lot faster than going through the PC. However, there's a very important piece of information you need to understand. The cloning feature in this does not do an intelligent sector copy. Neither does the software, hence the fact that I use an even comparison between the two. I use software that didn't do intelligent, and this thing which doesn't do intelligent. So, depending on how much data you have actually used on your source disk, well, it doesn't matter actually, because whether or not you're using 1 gig or 64 gigs of your source disk, or 1 gig or all of your gigs of the source disk, the bay will copy all of the data onto the target disk, which is kind of inefficient because if you're only using 1 out of 1,000 gigabytes on a disk, it copies all 1,000 gigabytes of sectors. So there's a little bit of a conundrum there. So what I found given on those tests is that, since it copies twice as fast going through the enclosure as going through Windows, if you're cloning a disk and under half of the capacity of the source disk is used, it's more worth it to do an intelligent sector copy with a program like Macrium Reflect on your PC. If you're using over about half of your source disk, it's more efficient to use this drive bay to clone it because it'll go twice as fast and you're using up at least half your disk, so it's more efficient to do it that way. So that's just a little bit of an important piece of information I thought I'd share with all of you. I can go over the cloning process next. I'm probably just going to end the video. So what you do to clone a disk is you actually leave it on PC mode because you have a few different things here. You have the actual power plug, you got the switch, you have USB 3.0, and then you have the start button. So leave it on PC mode, but you unplug it, and then you turn it on. Once it turns on, you just hit the switch to clone, and it should beep a few times. If it beeps more than twice, then you did something wrong. So 2 beeps. at which point you hit the start button and it will start cloning. Now unfortunately, the only way that you know when it's done is that it beeps at you several times really loud. If you're not in the room, or if you're not, basically if you don't hear it, you don't hear it, right? So I think the other way you want to tell if it's done cloning or not is with these hard drive activity lights. If you come back and these lights are off, chances are, or if they're solid, chances are the copy's done, but it still is a little bit of a design flaw that it doesn't have like an activity light that says when the clone's done or not. So if you miss the beep sound, you're kind of out of luck. So that's about it. It's a good little drive bay. I'm going to keep it right on top of my desktop right there, keep some drives in it. I actually started using it to pull some data off of a stack of hard drives that I don't need anymore, and it's proven very useful. So I hope that was at least moderately interesting and useful to all of you, and thank you all for watching.